In the last session, we discussed about memory management, what exactly is meant by that, and what are the functions and what are the techniques used. And in today's session, we are going to see a very important concept of virtual memory, right? Many of you might have heard at least this term, or many of you, at least some of you, may be knowing how it works. But let's understand what are the intricacies of the this virtual memory concept. Imagine you have a very large application, right? And there are many components that are they are mutually exclusive, right? So, for example, when one function is selected, then the other function is not required. Typical example is, suppose, for example, in any program you select the top level menu. When you select one menu option, okay, obviously you are not selecting the other menu options. Yeah, so each of the menu option that is given at one level is mutually exclusive to other options, correct? So when you say, for example, in Word document, when you select the menu option called file, the other menu option, for example, edit or help, you are not accessing. Yeah, so they are mutually exclusive. All the menu options which are on the top level are mutually exclusive, which means that only one at a time you can access, right? Similarly, other functions like routines, which are handling errors and exceptions, etc., they are also very rarely used. The point here is some of the programs are accessed quite often, some of the parts of the program, and some part of the program are accessed very rarely, right? And this behavior of the program is called locality of reference. Now there are two types of locality of reference: spatial and temporal, right? Spatial means related to space, and temporal means related to time, right? So let's understand what exactly these two terminologies. Temporal reference, locality of reference, means the addresses that are referred at some time t will be accessed in the near future. Okay, so when a program is running, uh, it is most likely that in the next time frame, the area which is near to the current location will be accessed with a very high probability. Suppose, for example, you are executing a loop, which means that the next portion of the loop will be executed in the next time frame. It is not possible that the program will go suddenly somewhere else, yeah, and start executing from there. Of course, this will happen, yeah, but not with a very high probability. Take a typical example of a loop which is running, say, 100 times, yeah. So when it's looping 100 times, the 99 times the loop condition will get satisfied and it will go inside the loop, yeah, which means whatever is said here is satisfied 99 times out of 100. On only once, when in the last loop, when the condition for loop execution is not satisfied, it will come out of the loop, yeah. So this temporal locality is not satisfied only once, whereas it is satisfied 99 times out of 100. So that's what is meant by the high probability of temporal locality. And this is true with any program, irrespective of whichever language it is written, on whichever processor it is working, right? For any program, these two locality of reference is a valid reason to believe, and this two locality of reference, or this uh, speciality of any program execution, is the basis on which the whole concept of virtual memory is based. Okay, what is spatial locality? It is related to space, which means if a program is executing certain instruction, then very likely that it will always execute the next instruction. Yeah. Now you may say that program always jumps. Yes, it jumps, but we are talking about the probability. So 99% of the cases when an instruction is getting executed, there is a 99% probability that the next instruction will get executed after this. Yeah, very few probability that the instruction executed will not be the next one but somewhere else, and this will happen obviously when there is a jump out of the loop or control flow or whatever. Yeah. So this is true also for any program, any language, any domain, any processor. This is true for any such kind of program. Yeah. So how can we exploit this characteristic? So this characteristic of the program is very, very common, and we need to exploit this. Exploit meaning we have to take advantage of this locality of reference and make sure that the program executes very fast. Obviously, this is possible only we ensure that the current locality is kept in the main memory. Okay, suppose my program is very big, but currently it is executing in some area. When it is executing in some area, suppose my program is 10,000 bytes, yeah, and right now it is executing an instruction at say 6,000. So if I keep only the memory area around 6,000 in the memory, then I have satisfied these two locality of reference, right? So it will always high probability that will be uh, executing inside that nearby 6,000 only. Okay, very unlikely that will go out. And whenever it goes out, okay, that's when I'm saying that you need to get that part of the program again back in the memory, right? So keep only the current locality of the main program and need not keep the entire program in the main memory, right? This is the basis on which the virtual memory concept is based. So let's understand what is the basic concept. Suppose I have a physical address space, and physical address space is only one. I have virtual address space which is one for each process, right? So if I write a program, that program will have one virtual address space. I write another program, that program will have another virtual address space, right? Yeah. On your laptop, you run MS Word, right? MS Word has one virtual address space. MS Excel will have another virtual address space. If you run a Chrome browser will have another virtual address space. Yeah. So as many processes are there, those many virtual address spaces will be there. But the physical memory space is only one. That's the main memory that you have in your laptop, whatever that 4 GB, 8 GB, whatever main memory is there, that's the physical address space starting from 00 until it goes up to 4 GB or 8 GB, whatever it is. Okay, so that is only one, whereas virtual address space is as many processes or as many programs you want to run simultaneously in the memory, right? So what do? We divide the memory into fixed size, both the virtual and physical memory. So it is fixed size. Normally the size is of 4 kilobytes. You see the the two bullets down below. Yeah. So by default, k is equal to 12. K is the power of the 2. Okay. So the size is always 4 kilobytes. Now, if I divide into 4 kilobyte blocks, that block when it is referring to the virtual space, it is called page, and when it is referring to the physical space, it is called frame. Please understand the size of frame and page is exactly same. It is just a reference, the word we are using just to not to create any confusion. So when we refer to page, it means the program that I have written. I have written, compiled, and it is lying on the disk. That is divided into 4 kilobytes of chunks, and those are the pages. Whereas in the physical memory is divided into 4 kilobytes blocks, and that is called frame. So I am going to load page into a frame. Yeah. So when I'm loading program, I load a page into a frame. That's when I load my program from the hard disk to the main memory, right? At any time, physical memory may contain pages from many process address spaces. Yeah. So you have program 1, program 2, program 3, program 4, and as you know, all the 4 programs are running in your laptop. Yeah. You have this video which is you are currently watching is running. Okay, you might have some other program, say your Chrome browser is also running. So there are many different programs which are running in your physical memory. They are located in the physical memory. Yeah. So physical memory may contain pages from many different process address spaces. Yeah. So uh, one frame in the physical memory may contain a page from your Chrome browser. Another frame in your physical memory may contain a page from your MS Word. Another frame will contain a page from your Excel sheet. Another frame may contain a page from your program which is written by you, yeah, or pick or any other program that you are uh, loading and executing. So just keep in mind this scenario because this is very useful in the understanding the next slides on virtual memory. Demand paging is the pages which are brought in the main memory on demand. Okay, for example, suppose I want to uh, run a part of the program, then I say, okay, please find out this part of the program from the disk and find out that page and put that page in this frame. Yeah, and then your program will go ahead and execute that. So this system is called demand paging, and demand paging is the basis on which the virtual memory is working. Suppose you loaded a page and that page gets modified. Yeah, obviously in your program you are modifying a lot many variables. Suppose you declare a variable I, j, k, and you say I is equal to j plus k. So I is modified, right? So whichever page that is located, so that is currently in the frame, right? So now that frame gets modified. So obviously that modification has to be updated on the page in the hard disk. Yeah. So this page has to be rolled out depending on the page replacement policy. So it has to be rolled out, and then that page must be replaced with something else. Why this replacement required? Let's see. Let's understand. So first basic concepts. Virtual address space is contiguous. Yeah. So when I say I write a program starting from main until the end of my program, I'm assuming that my program starts from 0 or 1000 or 2000, whatever it may be, and it is continuously up to the end of my program. It is not that my program starts from 1000, half of the program is over, and the next half is located at say 10,000. And virtual address space is always continuous. It is always starts from one location and until another location, right? Pages can be mapped into arbitrary frames. Yeah, so I will show you a diagram in the next few slides. Pages can reside in memory or on the disk. Yeah, obviously when the page is located in the memory, it is called frame. Yeah, but frame uh, is for the physical existence of that page. Okay, page is the content of that memory block. Yeah, so there's slight difference in the context that I'm using. So pages can be in the memory or on the hard disk, right? The pages are mapped onto arbitrary frames, which means that suppose my program or one program or my process is located from page number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, but page 0 could be in frame number, for example, 323. Page number 1 could be in frame number say 560. So the pages, even though they are contiguous in virtual address space, in the physical memory they may not be contiguous. Yeah, in fact it's all the probability that they may not be contiguous, right? uh, so all programs are written in virtual address space, and hardware does on the fly translation from virtual to physical space, right? And for this a page table is used between the for the translation, right? uh, how to view virtual address page, okay, or virtual address space. Any virtual address has a combination of two parts. One is the page number and one is the offset. Okay. Here's the example. Suppose your virtual address space is 16K, which means your program is 16 kilobytes. Yeah. And suppose my page size is 2 kilobytes. So 2K is the page size. My address is suppose 3045. I have declared one variable called I, and that I variable is located at 3045. Assume. Yeah. So where the program will locate this I variable. So the virtual page number and offset corresponding to virtual address will be calculated as follows. We have a 2 kilobytes of page size. So whatever the address is given 3045, I divide that by the page size. Okay. So by division, and I do integer division here. Okay. I get quotient as 1, right? And then I find a remainder by dividing again, this making the same division. I get a remainder of 997, which is the offset, which means in the page number 1 offset number 997, my that location 3045 is located. Yeah, so my virtual address space is 1:997. Yeah, why the page size is always the power of 2? Try to find out the answer in the next slide. Okay, so what is the page size criteria? Let's take the same address what we have taken in the last example, 3045. So 3045 is converted into binary in this form. Okay, so the address is 1011, 1110, and 0101. Okay, that's the binary equivalent of 3045. Okay, for 16 kilobyte address space, the address will be 14 bits. Why? Because 1 kilobyte is 10 bits. Okay, and each next double of that will be one extra bit of address. So 10 bits will give 1 kilobyte, 11 bits will give 2 kilobytes, 12 bits will give 4 kilobytes, okay, 13 bits will give 8 kilobytes, and that's why 14 bits will give 16 kilobytes. Yeah, so that's how to do the calculation. So if I have 14 bits of data, yeah, so any address in my virtual address space is always 14 bits. So I've got a 12-bit data above 1011 and all that. So I add another two zeros here to make it 14 bits. So my virtual address is this: 001011, 1110, and 0101. Right? Now a 2K address space will have offset of 0 to 2047, which means the offset will be 11 bits. Yeah, why? Because 2047 is accommodated 11 bits, right? So breaking the 16-bit address into page number and offset, so that's how it will be. The 14 bits will be broken into 3 bits and 14 bits. Yeah, so sorry, 3 bits and 11 bits, right? So to make the whole 14 bits. So the 3 bits will be 001. That's the page number that we calculated in the last slide. See here. Okay, the page number is 1 and the offset is 997. So the page number is 1 here and this is 997. Okay, the offset within the page. Okay. So now can we understand why the page size is always a power of 2? Obviously, because the page size has to be, finally I need to break that into number of bits. Yeah, so I need to break the complete virtual address into page number and offset. Now offset is certain number of bits. Here it is 11 bits of the offset. Now if the offset is 11 bits, then it always has to a power of 2. Okay, if it is 10 bit, it will be 1024. It will be if it is 11 bit, then 2047. Okay, if it is 12 bit, then double of this and so on and so forth. But it always has to be a power of 2. It cannot be some arbitrary number like, say, for example, 1500. Yeah, because that will not come as a power of 2. Okay, so that's the reason why the page size always has to be power of 2. Okay, how the page mapping is done from virtual address space into physical address space. Again, taking the same example, I have 8 kilobytes of physical memory and 3 virtual address spaces, 2K, 3K, and 4K, which means I have 3 programs. One is of 2K, another is of 3K, and another is 4K. Page size is 1K. Yeah. So on the left hand side, you see 0, 1, 2 up to 7. So that's 8 kilobyte of physical space. Okay. So that's the main memory which is written down below. Physical address space PAS. Okay, and on the right side we have these 3 programs. The virtual address space 2 VAS2 down below is the program which is 2 kilobytes. VAS1 is the program which is 3 kilobytes, and VAS0 is the program which is, say, 4 kilobytes. Yeah, so you can see 4 blocks there. And at any point of time, the arrows indicate which page is located where. And as you can see, this can be completely random distribution. Yeah, which means in the physical memory, page number or frame number 2 is having the second page of VAS2. Okay, the program which is VAS2, virtual address space 2, the second page is located in frame number 2 of the physical memory. Similarly, the second page of VAS0 is located in frame number 3 of, yeah, so the second page of VAS0 is located in frame number 3 of the physical memory, and so on and so forth. So it can be completely random which page is located where. And so you might have observed here that these 2 pages of VAS0 are not located in the memory at all. Similarly, this page and this page of this program is not located in the memory at all. Yeah? So here you can see the locality of reference working. It may be possible that that the program of VAS1 is currently executing in this page. Yeah. So if it is executing this page, it is just enough for the system to have only this page in the main memory and need not be this page. In fact, the program need not know that these pages are not there in the main memory. If the program jumps out of this space and jumps somewhere here, then what is to be done about that we'll see later. Yeah, but currently, because of locality of reference, since the program is executing only here, it is enough to have only this page in the memory. Similarly, it is enough to have these two pages in the memory because the program may be jumping here only. It does not need this part of the program. Yeah, so that is the basic concept of virtual memory. You need to have in the main memory only that part which is required. You do not need to know need to have anything else in the main memory. Yeah, so as you can see here, if you see the total program, right, you can see all the three programs are running in the main memory. Okay, suppose this blue thing is operating system. Yeah, and only these 6 blocks or 6 frames are available for user programming. Yeah? Now 6 frames is equivalent of 6 kilobytes. Yeah, so 6 kilobytes of user programs are located here, but you can see all the three programs are running here. You can experience the working of all the three programs here, but if you see addition of all the three programs, it is 9 kilobytes. Yeah, so even though the total program is 9 kilobytes, but you are still able to execute that in 6 kilobytes of physical memory. This is the power of virtual memory. Yeah, and this is made possible by, and this is not something theoretical, it is actually working in your laptop right now, or your mobile. Yeah, so this concept called demand paging, that this one, whenever I need to have page in the memory, I will demand that page and that page will be located in the main memory. So this is called demand paging. So what are the issues in demand paging? How to keep track of which logical page goes where in the main memory. Okay. So more specifically, what are the data structures required and so many things, right? Then how to translate logical address into physical address and when to translate that. So normally the address translation algorithm applies every time a main memory reference happens. So every time a memory reference, irrespective of whether it is for data access or program access or for anything, the address translation algorithm has to work. Yeah, and how to avoid repeated translations, right? So because address translation is overall time-consuming job. So how to do the address translation, and if it has to be done for every memory access, then how to reduce it and how to avoid repeated translations. So these are the issues which have to be solved. One issue is about the page table. Okay, so there is a data structure called page table, which is per logical address space there is one page table, which means per program there is one page table, right? So per process there is one page table, right? So any independent running executing entity will have one page table associated with that. If the main memory is full, like in the last example, all the blocks were full, and the process demands a new page. In that case, what is the policy for replacing the existing pages? Some of the page from the main memory has to be thrown out, and a new page has to be loaded. So which one to throw out? So there are many algorithms. One is LRU, least recently used, or most recently used, not recently used, first in first out, random, and so on and so forth. There are many standard algorithms for page replacement. We are not getting into details of how the algorithms work. Uh, this discussion can be a separate topic itself. But since we are not, we are just having introduction about the operating system and kernel and things like that. So if anybody is interested in details about how virtual memory works, then obviously you have to work on how the algorithms work. Okay, so right now we are not going to details of this, but you should know these algorithms and the names and what exactly it means. When we move out a page, say for example, suppose now this program jumps out of this memory area and jumps here. Yeah, so now this page has to be loaded in the main memory, but you can see all the 8 blocks are full, right? So I will apply some algorithm, say least recently used or most recently used. So I will see which of these page is the oldest one, and I decide to throw that out. Okay, so suppose I find that page number 5 was the or the most least recent one. It is not necessary that I have to throw out the page belong to this program only. Yeah, please remember that. Suppose I want to bring this page in, then it might be decided that based on algorithm that this page has to be thrown out. Now this page belongs to this. Yeah, but the operating system will decide, okay, fine, this program is not working for a long time, so I will throw this out. So page number 4 is to be thrown out, and in that place this page has to be brought in. So once that is decided, when I decide to throw this out, yeah, I need to decide whether I will write it back to this place, or I will just throw this out. Obviously this will depend on what? If some data in this has got changed as a part of the program execution, then I need to write it back. If nothing is changed, then I need not write it back. Yeah. So if this is a read-only program, okay, read-only memory block, there is no variable which is updated here, then I need not write it back. Yeah. Then I just can throw, and I overwrite. In fact, I overwrite this memory area by the new page that comes in. But suppose something has changed, then I need to write it back, and only then I can overwrite this memory with the new page. Yeah. So that's the second bullet point which talks about when we need to roll out the page, whether I should write it back or not. Yeah. So there is a special bit allocated in the page table which keep track whether uh, this page has to be written back or not to be written back. Page table is a data structure which is used in virtual memory. There is one table per logical address space, and there is one entry per logical page. So logical page number is used as an index to access the corresponding page table entry. So it's an array, and the array index will be the logical page number. Yeah. What is the page table entry format? There will be one bit which is called present bit, and this indicates that whether the page exists currently in the main memory or not. So as soon as the page is brought from the hard disk into the main memory, this bit will be set, indicating that now it is existing in the page. When this page is not there, then the bit will be 0. Modify bit, okay. This is also called a dirty bit. Traditionally, this is the wording which was used in the operating systems, that indicating that this page has become kind of modified, or it will become dirty. Yeah? So 1 if the page is modified, and 0 it won't if it is not modified. So this dirty bit or this modify bit indicates that when this page has to be thrown out of the main memory, then it has to be written back into the hard disk. Yeah. Then there can be other control bits for indicating access rights, what are the limits of this block, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So if there is a stack, then there will be limit, so that the stack is not overflow. Yeah. So all those bits will be there, and of course finally there will be physical page number. Yeah, corresponding to the page in the physical memory. Right. How the address translation happens? Very simple. Since the page size is exactly same, okay, and logical address space is contiguous, so I will indicate logical address page as a combination of page number and offset. Yeah, so I can have page number some integer number and offset within that page. So logical page number LPN will be the address divided by page size. We have done this calculation some 2 slides back. Yeah, and offset will be the logical address divided by the percent page number. So remainder of that division will be the offset. And so I will find out the LPN with this formula, and I will use that as an index into the page table. So I will go to the array element in the page table using this index, and I will check whether the present bit is set. Yeah, I'll see here present bit. So each page table entry will be having a present bit. If that present bit is set, it means that this page is already there in memory, main memory, and then I will directly go to the step 3 of calculating the physical page number. Okay, otherwise I'll generate a page fault. This is where I talked about the page fault even in the discussion on ARM processor. So page fault will occur when a certain page is not there in the main memory. Please understand, this page fault is not an error condition. Don't go by the word fault. It is not indicating that any fault in the system. It is just indicates that this page which is required by the process, by the program, is not currently in the main memory, so please go and get it. Okay, this is the only meaning of the page fault. Okay? So page fault indicates to the operating system that the page has to be brought in from the hard disk into main memory, and obviously operating system will do that. Yeah. After it is done, then physical page number is accessed from the page table entry, the particular array entry, and physical page number will pick it up, and that's the physical page number. And the physical address is calculated based on the physical page number and the offset which is calculated here, okay, in the step number 1. Okay? So that's the calculation happens. This slide shows the diagrammatic representation of the calculation. I have a logical address, page, and offset indicated by D because sometimes in the literature the offset is also denoted by displacement. Yeah, so a page and displacement, so P and D. The page number goes through this translation. Yeah, so this is the page table. P is used as the index of the array. So from starting point with using this index, I go to this element. From this element, I pick up P, I pick up F, which is a physical page number. I will concatenate the physical page number with the same offset. Yeah, and this is my address, a physical address, and this physical address goes into the physical memory. Yeah, please remember here the page size in the logical address space and physical address space is same. So this will also have the offset of D, and this will also have the offset of D, but this could be different. Why this could be different? Because my logical physical address space could be maybe say 32-bit, and logical address space could be 40-bit. Yeah, so this, and suppose the D is 12, then P will be 40 minus 12, and F will be say 32 minus 12. Yeah, so P and F can be different, but D will be same. So this translation can take certain time. To avoid the time, we use the concept of cache. Now you remember what is the concept of cache memory. Cache memory is sitting between the CPU and the main memory, and whenever CPU wants to access something, if it's already accessed and if it's already existing in the cache, then cache memory will give that data and the main memory is not accessed. Okay, the time taken in the access of the main memory is not required. Similarly here, there is a cache which stores the previously done translations, and if the translation already there, which means there's a hit in the translation. By the way, this cache is called translation look aside buffer. Okay, and this cache, if it is a hit, which means whatever required is there in the translation look aside buffer, then the translation is not done. Okay, and it will already use the readily available translation. But whereas if there is a miss, which means whatever you are looking for is not there in the cache, then it will go through all this process of translation, this part. Yeah, and get to the physical address. So students, I guess this is the end of this topic, okay, of virtual memory. This is by no means the detailed discussion of virtual memory. There is a virtual memory is very involved topic, and huge amount of intricacies are there. But I have discussed this very briefly just for you to understand what exactly is the concept of virtual memory and how it works, and what are the things to be studied there, to be noted there, and things like that. Okay. So this brings us to the end of unit number 4. Okay. And from the next session onwards, we'll start unit 5, which is the real-time operating system. So till then, bye. See you.